Hello everybody, welcome back. How are you? Hope you weren't gone too long. Hope you just went to my next video. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get a little more complicated, but I'm going to follow the same concepts that I've had before, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to draw a very simple car. Now, understand that a lot of times I use photo references for everything so that things are better. But for this freshman class, this beginning class, I'm not really going to do any references. I'm just going to go ahead and draw it freehand, and I'm not going to draw any type of car in particular. It's just going to be a generic car. Now, what I want to start with is, let me do this. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the camera and looking at the paper, so that's why it looks like this. Anyway, I'm going to start off with drawing a rectangle, okay? And then I'm going to make the rectangle like I did before with the cube. I'm going to draw a line straight back like this. I'm going to draw another line straight, and again, another line straight back, and they're parallel. Again, I'm going to tell you to change that later on in a different lesson. And I'm going to draw another parallel line straight back like this. Okay? Now, again, I'm doing this very dark. The lines really should look like this, very light. You know, you're kind of giving yourself guidelines with the pencil at first, and the reason why is because you're going to erase a lot of these lines, and because I'm doing them so dark, it's harder to erase. So I drew one rectangle, and now let me draw another rectangle on top of that one. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to come across like this. Let me make this up a little higher. Come across like this. And we're going to come up like this. And doing stuff like this, it just takes practice. What you're basically looking for is the shape that's underneath everything, okay? And there is a shape underneath everything. There's a basic geometric shape. It's one of the three that I showed you. Even though we haven't really done too many triangles yet, we have done angles, and the angles are part of the triangle. So that's the reason why triangle is part of this. So now we have we just drew two rectangles, one on top of the other, and then I'm going to draw another ellipse, which is I did in a previous video, and then I'm going to draw the bottom of the tire, which is going to disappear behind the car. All right, then there's a circle. So now we have our tires. All right, we still need to finish up the car. So let's roll this back a little bit. I'm going to roll this back a little bit for the hood. And then the hood's going to come back like this. And it's going to come up like this. One of the things we don't want to do is create tangents, and I could see I'm kind of forming a tangent right now. Tangents are when lines connect where that shouldn't really connect. It does happen in real life. You'll see them in photographs. Once you know what a tangent is and you look for them, you'll see them all the time. But when you're doing a drawing, you want to make it less clear. The camera can pick things up that your eyes kind of fill in the space for. So you're trying to avoid tangents. So I'm going to bring back this line here, which I previously erased, and bring it back so I don't have a tangent. Okay. So now we have the windshield, right? Let's do another circle, and we have very generic headlights. Okay. And the car is not, it's serviceable, okay? It's nothing that's going to win you any prizes, but it's serviceable. It helps us get our point across that we do have a car. And you could kind of just fill in some details. Put in an antenna, make the hood come out. And again, this is a beginner's class, so I'm not expecting anyone to do too much. You know what? Let's throw a grill in there. make it very simple. And then we have a very basic generic car. And understand that this is basically the form is what I'm getting at. I want you to look at is to figure out that there is a form behind pretty much everything that you're going to draw. Okay, so that was my first lesson, and I'm hoping that you go ahead and practice this lesson over and over again. It's a good idea to just every day try to draw something from real life. You know, if you like drawing this, if you enjoy it, just grab a common item and draw it. I actually just kind of thought about something. You can take, how about your cell phone, right? Let's do that. Your smart cell phone. And you're basically just going to draw another rectangle. Right? And then all you're going to do is round the edges off. You know, it depends on the type of cell phone you have. But you're just going to round everything off. Make it round. And then put an ellipse in here. That's your home button. And then here's your earpiece. And that's pretty simple, right? And it's just a simple rectangle, and you just rounded the edges. And your screen, you know, it depends on the type of camera you have, is another little rectangle right here. And that's pretty simple. It's pretty simple and easy. And you could work on it. The important thing is, you know, just kind of practice a little bit. The important thing is to understand that there is a form underneath everything. And the forms are basically a triangle, a circle, and a square. And then you kind of twist and pull them to fit what you're going to do. This book is a rectangle, you know. It's that's just basically all it is. So that's my first lesson for learning how to draw. Now, in getting to creating comics, we will most likely just have to go towards the writing part. Now, when it comes to creating comic books, I'm going to do this whole thing where I'm going to take you. If you happen to have gone into a comic book store recently, you see that there are a lot of comic books there, and I'm going to take you from the point where there's nothing to the point where there's a comic book sitting on a shelf. Although it won't actually be that professional. It's going to be very toned down. It's going to be very local. You'll be able to give a comic book to your mom or to your brothers or sisters or, you know, anyone, friends. But I'm going to show you how to do that from start to finish. Now, I think I had mentioned earlier that I had started these videos a couple of times, and I looked at it. There were several reasons why I couldn't continue. But I decided that just showing there and writing wasn't very interesting. So I took my notes from the time I previously tried to make the video, and I kept them. And when you're starting with the comic book, you know, you got your pen, you got your pad, and it starts with an idea or several ideas, okay? And what you want to do is you want to do something that you really like. I'm so sorry about that. You want to do something that you really like, okay? It comes to, there are different genres. You know, science fiction genre can lead to Star Wars, which fans kind of get angry at me, but I kind of call that science fantasy. And then Star Trek, which is a little bit more cerebral. Do you like robots? You know, robots could be considered science fiction. Fantasy would be like Lord of the Rings, as an example, okay? Do you like history? You have U.S. history, you have Europe history, you have African history, you have biographies, comedies. You also have romantic comedies, rom-coms, if you like that. Comedies are there to make people laugh. A lot of them are slapstick, which those of you who are younger may not know this too much, but Three Stooges is like slapstick comedy, where people fall down and they hit each other, and they don't make that kind of humor too much anymore. But I mean, if you like it, why not do it? You know what I'm saying? You know, drawing pies in the faces, things like that. Anyway, we have different ideas here, right? I have I had made some notes previously that I'm not going to do what I wrote here, but one of the things, basically, you just get what you love and what you know, also what you know, because if you know it, it's going to come easier for you. Whereas if you don't know what it is you're doing, you have to do a lot of research. And when you're starting out, you don't want to spend time researching. You just want to do what you know. It's supposed to be fun and come from, you know, where you are and who you are and stuff like that. So I'm going to let you know that I grew up reading superhero comics. Okay, I can make superhero comics easier than I can do, say, an Archie type comic or Calvin and Hobbes type comic. If you happen to like those, go for it. It's great. There's no reason why you shouldn't. But I'm going to show you, you know, superhero comics. Now, what I wanted to let you know that pretty much everything that has been done in the past, I mean, pretty much everything you could think of to be done has been done before. You may not know that, but it only comes from experience. There was a time, probably about 15 years ago maybe, where I sat down and I said, I'm going to just do a superhero comic. I want to do one that is going to be fun for me. What do I think I would like to see if I was going to buy one off the newsstands? And I started creating this character. And when I finished, I was, you know, going through everything. And when I finished, I got to the end, I looked and said, that's Spider-Man. So that's what I'm trying to say, that it's all kind of, sorry, I'm checking something on for some reason I can't really see the timer on the camera, so I had to do that. I apologize. Anyway, when I got to the end there, I saw that I had actually done a ripoff of Spider-Man. I wasn't even thinking about Spider-Man, but anyone who saw that would look at it and go, yeah, that's Spider-Man. And that's because Spider-Man happens to be one of my favorite heroes. He happens to be fun. So when you know, when I was creating something that I would like to see, all of the elements of that showed up, and it was basically Spider-Man. But I also had a friend who wanted to write comics, and he loved Luke Cage, and he said to me, he was a manager of a comic book store, and he said, Scott, I want to draw this picture. For those of you who sort of Defenders, who watched that show, or Luke Cage or Iron Fist, you'll get these references. But he said, I want to do a story where Iron Fist comes up behind Luke Cage and he says, turn around. And then he punches him with the Iron Fist. And Luke Cage goes flying across the street and hits a building, and the building falls down on top of him. And I said, wow, that sounds pretty cool. And he goes, yeah, man, I think it would be really cool. And while he's saying that, I walked over to his rack of comics that he had yet to be sold, and I pulled out an old book that had Power Man and Iron Fist. Power Man is Luke Cage's other name. And I opened it up to when they first met. And what do you see? You see Iron Fist. He's kind of in the shadows. He turns on the Iron Fist, which glows up, and he says, Mr. Cage, turn around. And Luke Cage turns around. He punches him. He goes flying across the street. He hits a building, and the building comes collapsing down on top of him. Now, I know this man never saw that before. Anyway, I'm going to end this video real quick, and I'm going to start the next one, okay? Thank you. Bye.